Although career and technical educational courses cover diverse subjects, one thing they have in common is the need to meaningfully assess student learning. Assessments are the tools used by instructors to measure student comprehension of concepts and skills. For assessments to be effective, instructors should consider who their students are, what they want the students to be able to do or understand, and how this understanding will be measured. Instructors can create authentic assessments by writing measurable student learning outcomes, or SLOs, aligning assessments and learning activities to those outcomes, and developing rubrics to assess student performance. In order for learning to occur, all of these various components of instruction must work together. Finally, to create an equitable and inclusive online environment, varied assessment options should be considered when possible, so all students are able to demonstrate their knowledge in a meaningful way. This approach adheres to the UDL principle of providing multiple means of engagement and allows students to select the most meaningful and culturally relevant and responsive option to demonstrate their knowledge. An important step in creating effective assessment is to establish exactly what it is that students should be learning and how you plan to measure that development. Writing student learning outcomes, or SLOs, will help you specify exactly what students should know or be able to do at the end of your lesson or course. Again, the key to writing effective SLOs is they must be measurable. What does that mean exactly? Something that is measurable must be concrete, objective, and able to be viewed or demonstrated externally. To develop a measurable SLO, write a statement using an action verb describing what you want the students to know. For example, a licensed practical nursing student can externally demonstrate that they properly learned a procedure or protocol during a lab exercise or practical exam. This skill set may be observed and measured for accuracy by their instructor. An effective way to write an SLO for this assessment would be to use an action verb to describe what you want the students to know or demonstrate. So an example, measurable SLO could be the following. The student will record a patient's blood pressure. The instructor is able to actually observe whether or not the student properly record the patient's blood pressure, and their skill can be clearly assessed. However, if the SLO was something more vague and difficult to measure, such as, the student will learn how to record a patient's blood pressure, it becomes more difficult to effectively measure with an assessment. The verb to learn is vague and hard to demonstrate. When writing SLOs, it is important to also consider the level of SLO you are writing and how it should align with the assessments you are creating. For example, are you measuring learning goals at the broader course level or the more specific lesson level? Course level SLOs are broad outcomes that describe what students should learn by the end of the course in its entirety. You could think of course level SLOs as giving us the big picture. Learning level SLOs are much more specific than course SLOs. Lesson level SLOs describe what students should be able to do by the end of a unit, module, or lesson. Now that we have distinguished between course and lesson level SLOs, we will discuss alignment. As a CTE instructor, you may or may not be required to write your own course or lesson level outcomes. However, if you are, make sure that the lesson level SLOs align with the course level SLOs. For optimal student achievement, the course and lesson level SLOs, assessments, and learning activities should be aligned. Proper alignment occurs when SLOs are supported by the class content and learning activities, and tasks and assessments reflect whether students have attained the SLOs. Learning can be compromised and misalignment can occur if students are being assessed in ways that do not specifically address the SLOs or if the wrong assessment format is used. Consider the following example. A programming instructor wants students to be able to demonstrate competency in writing a specific form of code that creates animations on a web page. The SLO is written as, student will be able to write code to animate a character on a page. However, the instructor chooses to assess this skill by having students complete a multiple choice quiz. This task is misaligned with the lesson SLO as it does not fully demonstrate the student's ability, and this objective would clearly have been better assessed by having students actually write the needed code in the web page. An alignment table is a helpful tool for checking if your assessments, learning activities, and SLOs are properly connected. Creating an alignment table can help instructors pinpoint areas in the course that are not aligned. Once SLOs have been determined and aligned with course content, assessments can be created to measure student learning. Finally, when creating assessments, instructors should consider how they need the assessment to function in their class and why they are giving the assessment in the first place. Assessments are generally regarded as either formative or summative. Formative assessments are usually not a single measurement or test, but rather a series of practices that lead to some action that improves achievement. Since the goal of formative assessments is to improve learning outcomes, these assessments are usually low stakes. Formative assessments are used as opportunities to check in on learning and to offer feedback and recommendations so students can adjust and improve moving forward. In other words, formative assessments allow instructors and students to understand what concepts are not being understood and allow instructors and students to shift their approaches based on past student performance and instructor feedback. You can create formative online assessments in a variety of formats, such as quizzes, discussion board posts, or student-created videos. If possible, consider allowing students the option of selecting their form of assessment. For traditionally marginalized students and students of color, having the power to choose how they demonstrate their learning can help increase student engagement and improve relevance and authenticity for all students. Summative assessments, on the other hand, are used to measure the level of achievement of an objective. They are used to determine grades and are generally higher stakes assignments such as final exams, unit with chapter tests, research papers, or labs. As you may have already considered, they can be overlap between summative and formative assessments. For example, if you give a unit test and the class does not do well on it, you may decide to revise your lesson, or the students may decide to revise their study tactics, or a combination of both. Summative assessments can especially be formative when students are given constructive feedback on tests and exams. Furthermore, the same assignment may be used both as formative and summative assessment. For example, a student may turn in a rough draft as a formative assessment and a final draft as a summative assessment. As mentioned in the first video in the series, the Adult Learning Theory Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, by offering students a wide range of assessment formats, instructors can provide more culturally relevant, responsive, and authentic assessment for a diverse student population. Access the link in the video description for more information on how to create an authentically engaging learning environment for your CTE online course and create a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment for students.